Looking out of the single porthole, the crew saw nothing but darkness as they headed down toward the Titanic. They felt excitement. Pressure built on the sub. Suddenly, a deep groan echoed through the hull, followed by cracking sounds. In an instant, the Titan imploded, giving them no time to react. What really happened in the final moments before the Titan sub's tragic implosion? Today, we uncover the chilling details behind OceanGate's fateful dive to the Titanic and the critical flaws that led to disaster. Chapter 1. The Collapse of the Titan. The sub's collapse happened fast and violently. Tiny cracks spread through the carbon fiber hull at lightning speed, with nearly 5,000 pounds of pressure per square inch pushing against it. Within nanoseconds, the front titanium cap popped off like a cork, and the intense pressure hit the front of the sub hardest, crushing the hull inward toward the back. The powerful ocean pressure compressed the air inside, slamming the crew back against the rear cap. They were forced together with such force that their bodies were severely damaged. The hull then crumpled like a flattened soda can, pressing the crew against the back cap as water rushed in. In the end, nothing solid remained. Everything was liquefied into a thick, whitish paste. It was all over in less than a second, but if we slow it down, we get a clearer sense of just how devastating the Titan's collapse was. The Coast Guard has now figured out who's at fault. While the earlier theory was just a guess, it's based on solid evidence of what likely went wrong. The Titan Submersible and OceanGate, the company that took tourists to see the Titanic wreck, were created by libertarian billionaire Stockton Rush. Rush started OceanGate in 2009, believing that underwater tourism was a huge opportunity. The problem? Government rules, which he thought were understandable but illogical. He criticized the 1993 Passenger Vessel Safety Act, which limited dives to 150 feet and put strict rules on building passenger submersibles. Rush argued that these rules focused too much on safety and not enough on allowing new business ideas. Despite the regulations, he decided to build his own sub. Chapter 2. Design flaws and warnings ignored. The Titan was designed with 2 titanium end caps, each 3.25 inches thick. The front cap had the only window, where tourists could look out at the Titanic wreck. The window was 7 inches thick, but during deep dives, it actually pushed back into the cabin by nearly an inch. The design already had issues, starting with the viewport, which was only rated for dives up to 650 meters, while the Titanic lay 3,800 meters deep. And that wasn't the only serious flaw in the design. Rush believed that innovation was the key to success, so he filled OceanGate with young, fresh graduates who shared his relaxed approach to government rules. He wanted a team full of dreamers, not experienced submariners with decades of know-how in building and operating submersibles. Maybe because an expert would have quickly told him to scrap one of the most risky parts of the Titan. The Titan's hull was made from carbon fiber, which was a big deal for how it was made. Carbon fiber, made of thin strands of carbon atoms bonded together, is known for being strong and tough. But as any student of applied science knows, materials act differently in different conditions. Liz Taylor, the president of Dover Marine, warned Rush against using carbon fiber for the hull, saying it doesn't handle extreme depths or long exposure to water well. Plus, it can't handle the pressure of the ocean pushing in while maintaining normal pressure inside the sub. Rush dismissed these concerns, even after 38 experts drafted a letter urging him to have the submersible inspected by government authorities. He ignored it. In 2019, OceanGate responded to the letter, stating, "The vast majority of marine and aviation accidents are a result of operator error, not mechanical failure." Most baffling of all, the Titan wasn't even equipped with an emergency locator beacon, which would have made it easy to find if something went wrong. And this is why it took so long to actually locate the wreckage. During an incident in 2022, the surface vessel lost track of the Titan for over 5 hours, during which the crew of the ship shut off the internet to prevent anyone from tweeting about it. The submersible wasn't even guaranteed to find the Titanic. Simpsons Showrunner Mike Rice stated that it took 3 hours to actually find the wreckage during one dive, despite having landed within 500 yards of it. OceanGate would claim that the Titan was built in collaboration with experts from NASA, Boeing, and the University of Washington. However, all three entities clarified they had no direct involvement in the design of the Titan. Though a scale model of the pressure vessel was built and tested at the University of Washington's Applied Physics Laboratory without any involvement by staff, Boeing also denied any involvement and leaked documents verified that any cooperation was terminated due to Stockton Rush ignoring recommendations and testing requirements from Boeing engineers. The carbon fiber hull, a hugely controversial part of the construction, was also never subjected to rigorous testing. Instead, OceanGate claimed it would rely on a real-time acoustic monitoring system, which was likely of little help when the Titan ultimately imploded faster than an alarm signal could be triggered. An operations director who raised concerns over the lack of testing and design in various elements was ultimately fired. Chapter 3: Warning Signs Ignored. In 2018, Rush descended to 4,000 meters on board the Titan on a solo trip, becoming the second human after James Cameron to descend that deep. In 2019, a crew of 4 descended to almost 3,400 meters, but during the dive, they heard very loud cracking noises coming from the hull. Carl Stanley, a passenger on board at the time, raised concerns with Rush, stating he believed the hull had a serious flaw or defect and was beginning to break down, warning it could fail catastrophically. Rush dismissed Stanley's suggestions and told him to keep his opinions to himself. A new hull was constructed in 2021, with Rush misleading investors about the delay. During testing of a new hull design, several scale models imploded, yet Rush insisted on reusing parts from these imploded models for the real vessel, despite a stream of warnings that the components could be compromised and weaken the hull's integrity. Lifting rings to aid the recovery of the Titan were also added, despite further warnings that the submarine's body was not capable of handling the tension and load stress during lifting. Communication problems during test dives were frequent, with the sub losing all contact for hours at a time with its tender ship above. Thruster and buoyancy issues also plagued the Titan, and during a 2021 test dive with TV host Josh Gates, the Titan only reached 30 meters before multiple technical failures forced a cancellation of the dive. Gates declined an invitation to join the Titan on a dive to the wreckage of the Titanic. Stockton Rush's disregard for government regulation and his cowboy attitude had set the stage for disaster. So, what exactly happened? On a previous expedition, the submersible and the skiff it was being towed on were partially submerged for 3 days as it was dragged out to the dive site. On another occasion, just days before the fateful dive, the Titan was stuck in a high sea state, tossing the crew around for almost an hour. Despite these incidents, on June 17th, the Titan passengers underwent a day of training in preparation for their dive, unaware of the fate that awaited them. Chapter 4: The dive begins. On June 18th at 9:14 a.m., the Titan detached from its support ship and started its deep dive into the Titanic wreck. Instead of using traditional communication methods, the Titan relied on a text messaging app to stay in touch with its support vessel, the Polar Prince. At 165 meters deep, the Polar Prince sent a KE message to check if the Titan system was working. About a minute later, the Titan responded with another K. In addition to texting, the Titan also sent a constant ping to the Polar Prince every 5 to 10 seconds. This system usually kept working even when communication failed during previous dives. Everything seemed fine as the Titan kept descending, but around 10 a.m., communication started to fail. The Polar Prince sent multiple messages to the Titan, but got no reply. Finally, at 10:13, the Titan responded, saying they had lost their system and chat settings, another software failure. But things got a little strange when the Polar Prince received a message saying, "This is PH," referring to the Paul Henry, a Titanic expert. When asked if he could see the Polar Prince on his screen, the Titan just sent the same "This is PHR" message again. It's possible that the Titan couldn't properly receive the Polar Prince's messages due to the communication failure, or it could be that an issue with the air filtration system caused confusion from too much carbon dioxide. Right now, both of these ideas are just guesses. At the 10:47, the first sign of trouble arose. A message from the Titan read, "Dropped 2 WTs." This was likely a reference to the weights that the Titan used to help it sink to the bottom of the sea. Now, at a depth of almost 3,350 meters, it's possible the Titan was releasing weights as part of its slowdown procedures. In a previous expedition on a different submersible, Stockton Rush had smashed his vessel straight into the wreck of the Andrea Doria ocean liner. 6 seconds after the message, the Polar Prince stopped receiving the usual pings it got every 5 to 10 seconds. Experts think this is when the Titan suffered a catastrophic implosion. The crew wouldn't have had time to react or even realize what was happening, as the implosion happened in an instant. It's possible they heard the usual creaks and stresses on the hull, like they had on previous dives. But this time, the carbon fiber hull couldn't handle the pressure and collapsed. The story of the Titan is a lot like the Titanic, both driven by extreme overconfidence and poor decisions. Stockton Rush thought he was above rules and the advice of experts, but the tragic outcome serves as a reminder that safety regulations, though sometimes tough for businesses, are there for a reason. So that's the truth behind what happened to OceanGate. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.